Hello, everybody, and welcome to the It's All Love podcast with another fantastic episode. I'm joined by my co-host, Leonardo Paniagua, and today we have a fantastic episode we like to call Betting on You with Mark Suna. I'm joined, of course, by Mr. Mark Suna, one of the most successful businessmen in the state of Kentucky.
Well, thank you for that accolade, but I'd say I've been successful because of hard work. Okay?
Absolutely. So,
go ahead. You want to ask me a question?
Oh,
my God, listen, this is your show. Go ahead. Take it away.
Well, Mr. Suna, I know that we've had a couple of conversations off the mic about, of all business things, you believe that real estate is the place to go. Why is that?
Well, one of the reasons I believe in real estate is when you bet on the stock market, number one, you're betting on somebody else taking care of your money. You're betting on a company and its board of directors, and you're hoping they do everything they say they're going to do. And in some cases, accountability is not always there. When you get into real estate, or commercial real estate, or residential real estate, it's something you could touch, you could see, you could feel. It's yours. You can go down the street, see your house, see the property. Even though sometimes there are headaches with everything, over a long period of time, real estate has always proven to be a sound investment. With anything in our society and with history and social change, you have ups and downs. You have ups and downs in everything you do. Real estate over a long haul, always. The key word is long haul. The problem, though, today you have with many investors is they don't see the long haul. They want instant gratification. Right. And I think it started with orange juice when the astronauts needed Tang. What they do, they add water and you have orange juice. No one wants to let the orange grow on the tree, develop, and ripen. They want it now. So you have a problem with investing in now. Everybody is instant gratification and not delayed gratification. It's a quick buck, okay? So some of the things when you talk about betting on yourself is it takes a lot of discipline. Discipline is a key word. Instant gratification will get you in trouble. You have to have the discipline to sustain the downturns in the market so that you don't panic. People make money off of people who panic. Remember one thing. When there is a problem in our economy, for example, during 2007, 2008, 2009, when the housing market went the hell in a handbasket, people were selling, right? For everybody who was selling, there was someone buying. Those people who bought during that time have made money because now those properties are worth more. Exactly. That is sustainability, okay? So I don't want to occupy your whole show with my verbiage. I'd like to hear what you guys think as well.
I know that you mentioned the stock market, and I think like that sounds like a lot of risky business. Okay, so
by the way, that's a movie, Risky Business.
It is a movie.
I just want to work with it.
Is it?
Yeah,
I've never heard of it.
That's a good. Yeah, that's Tom Cruise. One of his.
Catch us on Monday when Tom Cruise will be joining us.
Okay, and you know what? You can watch him in his underpants. Okay, that's risky business. Okay.
But my question is like what just like motivated you to just go for it, even though knowing all the risks of this?
What motivated me to be successful?
That's right.
Is growing up poor. Growing up poor in the Bronx, in the Bronx, was a motivator. When you grow up poor, and also I'm a first generation of an immigrant. So my father escaped from Auschwitz. He was a Holocaust survivor. And you come to this country with an essence of, you know what? Work. Work is something that is ingrained in you. So as a first generation, my mother was American, my father was European. You come with the understanding that European have a different work ethic when they first come. First generation immigrants have a work ethic, okay? They want to come here for a better life. They want to come here for work. So success usually comes to those who work hard. And it's not something that happens overnight unless you win the lottery. And those people, as you can see, who win the lottery, some of them lose the money real quickly because they don't have that discipline that we talked about earlier. So coming as a first generation, being born to this country, and seeing what it takes, I worked hard. I didn't understand what not working was. As a young person, when I was 13, I worked. I worked in the Catskill Mountains where you see the movie Dirty Dancing, and I got there, I lied about my age, and I worked in the kitchen. So you work yourself up and you see what you do, what it takes. And education was also a key part. I was fortunate enough growing up in New York City that going to college was an option, but however, it was a great option for me, and that was we had what was called open enrollment. New York City schools in 1970, if you graduated top half of your high school class, you were guaranteed a four-year college.
Wow.
If you graduated bottom half, you were guaranteed a community college. I happen to be fortunate enough with a low GPA to get into a four-year college. And after one semester in four-year college, working hard, I knew I wanted to go to a university upstate. The only way for me to go upstate was to get good grades at college. Yeah. And I did, and I ended up going to the University of Buffalo. And, I looked at school like work, where most students today want to work and go to school. They make their schedule, and they say, well, I want Tuesdays off, I want Wednesdays off, but I'll go to school Thursday, Friday, and that's it. Or they make their schedule Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and a rough Friday. I went 5 days a week, nights and summers. So I graduated with a 4-year degree from the University of Buffalo in 2.5 years.
Wow.
Okay? So, but it wasn't because of intelligence. It was because of work.
Work ethic.
Work ethic. And I got my master's, and I worked on my PhD. So I did things that I knew I wanted to do. And I used my education, because education, no matter what you get, teaches you certain things.
That's true.
You may not use that education. You may go for one thing and then end up somewhere else, but it always is there to help you. It allows you to understand what is real and what isn't. Because we are made up of all different types. I say to my friends, I say, America is beef stew. You've got potatoes, you got carrots, you got beef, you got gravy. That's what we're made up. We're made up of all different things. And all those things together, with the right flavor, makes a great stew.
Oh, it tastes delicious.
And that's how our population really is.
That's true.
So, that's how I look at life. And so being successful has to start with discipline, a work ethic, and education. You just can't say, I'm going to put money in this and not know what you're doing. Because then you're squandering it. You have to really be knowledgeable of what you're going to do and where you want to go. And you have to have a roadmap for your own life. You have to have that roadmap that lets you down the path to be successful. If you don't have a roadmap, you're going to be lost. You're going to be calling AAA to help you get out somewhere, okay? Or you're going to depend on your GPS and it's going to take you somewhere else. You have to know where you're going to go, and that's the key.
So would you say the more sound investment, just from the sounds of it, is something that's more tangible, property that you can hold or, have a key to open up to? Would you say that the smarter investment is the more tangible investment?
Warren, let me help you out with that. Your keyword smarter. I don't know if I'd use the word smarter because smarter wouldn't be the right word. The prudent investor is someone that wants to look at something, touch it, smell it, and see it. If you're betting on somebody else, that's like going to the track. You're going to bet on a horse? The only way I bet on a horse is if the horse tells me he's going to win. And I have yet to have a horse tell me he's going to win. However, if I'm going to bet on real estate, I can control it.
Absolutely.
And I can see it. I know what kind of tenants. For example, I have a piece of property that I was told today they may be moving out. So rather than go, oh my God, I'm going to be without a tenant, I'm already thinking about how I'm going to fill that space.
Absolutely.
So that I'm not out any cash or any dollars. So that's how I look at things. You have to have a plan A, a plan B. Life is really like a football game. Life is really like a football game, and I don't mean soccer. So, I have to help you with that since you come from Guatemala. It may not be American football, but it's soccer. So, in football you have a goal, right? And there's goals on each side. And no matter what you do to score your goal, isn't there something stopping you from scoring that goal?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, what makes you successful? When you get tackled or when you get pushed back, no matter what it is, whether it's something in your family that happens or something that happens to you personally, you get back in the game. You get back in the game to be successful. And what are successful athletes? No matter how hard they get tackled, they want back in the game. And they follow a blocker. If they're a running back, what does a smart running back do? He looks for an open hole. How does he know when an open hole's come? Because he's going to depend on someone to help him. Okay? But guess what? In the stands are how many people? 40, 50, 60,000?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what are they doing? They're
Cheering
booing
on.
and cheering, right? But are they playing the game?
Nope.
No. And that's the way life is. People will tell you what you can and can't do, but they're not playing the game.
That's true.
You're doing the game.
Absolutely.
So successful, investing is up to you. You have to have a gut feeling, you have to know what you want, and look at the opportunities that are out there for you.
Absolutely.
I can only imagine Mr. Marshall 30 years ago. He's like, all right, work don't stop, the grind don't stop. All right, let's get this.
You're 100% right. Now think about it. Think about your family. Your family, do they work hard?
Of course.
Of course. And they don't wait for somebody to give it to them. They're out there making it happen. Okay? you are the chief of your own destiny.
Absolutely.
You can either there's nothing you can't do in this world if you put your mind to it. No matter, even if you have a language barrier. For example, we fought a war in Vietnam, okay? A war that maybe we shouldn't have been in or we should have been. But you know what? We fought that war. And people have said to me, did we win or lose? And you know what I say? I say we lost men and we had a war, but we won. You know why? Because if you look at Vietnam now, it's westernized. We're buying products from Vietnam. So what do? We made Vietnam in America at the cost of people's lives. But we made it in America. Because people go there to vacation, they go to visit, they go to buy product. Manufacturers are having plants in Vietnam selling us. So the key to anything is understand what's happening in our world. Understanding when you do an investment, what type of investment you want. What kind of investment that you're looking at. And be appreciative of that investment. Don't look at it as a toy. Don't look at it as something you want to be braggadocious. Look at it as a means to build security.
And just going back when you were talking about discipline, I think all three of us growing up from humble means. What advice would you give to people who grew up a similar way as all of us? Because I'm sure you had it the same way as a kid. You'd look through the window, you'd see those fancy pair of shoes, and as soon as you got the money to get them,
I have to be, I'll tell you something about that.
Absolutely.
You talk about those fancy pairs of shoes. I was fortunate enough to be brought up in the Bronx, okay? And that's New York City. And in the Bronx, if you live in a neighborhood, okay, it's not like today where you live in the suburbs, okay? We lived in a neighborhood. We lived in apartment buildings. Wednesday, we didn't have heat. On Thursday, maybe the elevator didn't work. So you walked up the steps. The bottom line was, living in the Bronx, everybody was of that same class. Everybody's parents worked hard. They didn't have the fancy shoes. If they did, they moved out of the Bronx. Okay, so growing up in the Bronx gave us a sense of identity, who we are, what we are, and we never forgot where we came from. And that's the key to being successful. Never forget where you come from, and don't treat people who may not have what you have today any less than you would want to be treated. Because the key to success, that person that you treat less than you treat yourself may be the successful person of tomorrow. And you never neglect or negate what someone else's value is, okay? And so being a good success person or someone who looks for success is also understanding that success comes when you surround yourself with good people.
Absolutely.
And you understand that those good people have value. They may not have the same value you have, but they have value.
Absolutely.
And you look at the value they have and what they can contribute from where they stand.
Absolutely. So how would you say, what's some good advice of just some basic money management skills? How can somebody know when's the right time to buy something nice, even if they have the money for it?
Sometimes, here's the way I look at your question being, how do you know when to buy something? Opportunities are there every day. And sometimes you don't have to have that money you think you have. Because I started with $50, okay? And what you have to have is you have to have gumption. You have to have a sense that you can survive no matter what. There's always somebody willing to sell something. There's someone burnt out on this. There's someone burnt out with that. They don't like this property. And they don't necessarily see the value, okay? One of the things you and I talked about earlier was creativity.
Absolutely.
Some people who have a creative mind, who are musicians or into the arts, don't necessarily know how to manage money. But they could look at a piece of property and see what they could make it, and that value that they brought to it creates money and opportunity. So their artistic abilities that they see in a rundown house, they turn it into a beautiful facility that now they bought for 40 or 50,000 is now worth 150. So, and they bought it with no money. Someone said, "Hey, yeah, I'll take paper. You put 5,000 down, 10,000 down, and I'll carry it." Okay. Those opportunities are out there. They're out there.
So don't be afraid to take risk.
Risk is the number one element but the risk that I'm talking about is not on the stock market. The risk I'm talking about is the risk in yourself. Believe in you. Because if you believe in you, there's nothing you can't accomplish.
Wow.
I mean, I've heard that success is in the side of fear,
Fear is a good thing to have. Fear is what balances you. Fear is balancing. But it should never paralyze you.
That's true.
Fear is something that should balance you to question the opportunity. But your gut will lend you down that road and let you know it's the right thing. Your body gives you answers. Your gut tells you things. You guys all know that being single? Mm-hmm. You know when it's the right one and the wrong one, right?
Right.
Okay? That's your gut, okay? Your gut's telling you, hey, she's nice, but she's not for me, right? Okay? That's your gut. So your gut will do the same thing when it comes to investments. And when you back it up with intelligence and cautiousness and also your ability to see what you think it could be, that's when the success happens.
What's a good investment to you, Mr. Suna? Like, for instance, could you walk us through when you're looking at buying a piece of property or looking at investing in something, how can somebody know what's a good investment and what's a bad investment?
I look at what the opportunity for that investment is. Mm-hmm. For example, okay, you look at something like a building, mm-hmm. okay? Let's say it's sitting vacant. Okay. And if it's sitting vacant, therefore it has less value.
Absolutely.
Because it's vacant. Mm-hmm. You look at that building and say, if I can buy it for this price, and you sit down with a piece of paper and a little notepad and say, okay, if I buy it this price, how much income can I generate off of that if I rented it out? The key word is if, remember? Mm-hmm. You're looking at something that's been run down, okay? But if I can buy it cheap enough where it won't kill me, and if I put this amount of money in, it still won't kill me, and I get someone to carry the financing for me, or mm-hmm. even lend me all the money I need, how much am I going to have to pay back? How much income is it going to generate? And what does that leave me with? You have to have a thought process, not just looking at something. I look at stuff every day. And I'm looking at some stuff now that are vacant. That to rebuild that building that I'm looking at probably cost about $1.5 million. Mm. So I'm going to try to buy it for $400,000. Wow. And now if I finance it at $400,000 and I get a tenant in there that pays me $12,000 or $13,000, I'm going to walk away with $70,000 a year in income without working.
Wow.
So that's the way I look at opportunities. I look at what is undervalued because you want to buy what's not valued. What it's undervalued, okay, you can always make money once the value is established because you bought it under the market price. Let me ask you all a question.
Absolutely.
Do you buy your clothes on sale or you buy them retail?
I buy mine on sale.
Why?
It's cheaper.
Cheaper, but is it the same clothes that once were not on sale?
Absolutely.
And was someone willing to pay retail for that?
Absolutely.
Okay, but you waited till when?
Till it was on sale.
Okay, guess what? You just answered your question about real estate.
He's got a point.
You answered your own question. That's how real estate is.
The man's like a Bronx Confucius.
Well, you know what? Actually, today with my Hawaiian shirt on, I'm more like Don Ho. Okay? But the bottom line, that's how you have to look at things. You can't let emotion outweigh your brain.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Sure. I was going to ask you, I'm between investment and investment. Do you do any charity work?
Lots of charity work.
What have you started on? Like what?
What do I do?
Uh-huh.
When I teach real estate part-time.
Okay.
Every check I get from my teaching goes to St. Jude's.
Oh, awesome.
Wow.
Okay. I have no kids. However, I believe that there are children out there that are maybe less fortunate, and their parents should never, ever, ever have to worry about how they're going to pay for their child's health.
Absolutely.
And St. Jude's is probably one of my number one charities. Matter of fact, I talked to you guys earlier about concerts and aligning yourself with someone like that and doing a concert, a nonprofit. And of course, your expenses are covered, but you send the profit to St. Jude's. And believe me, you can get actors and actresses out here from California and everywhere because they participate in St. Jude's. St. Jude's is probably one of the most worthy, charities that I see.
Wow.
And by the way, when WHAS is doing their thing, there's not a fireman with his bucket that I don't put a buck in there. So, for whether it's Fern Creek or Bullitt County or Oldham County, every one of those firemen gets something from me.
Has your humble beginnings made you want to invest more in charity? Do you think that's been a big motivator to you?
I think that what you learn is that people who have a little more than somebody else will always invest in charity. The reason being is people who don't have can't afford to.
Right.
Okay? And so, and I'm a firm believer that you keep prosecuting and persecuting the rich. But the rich, if every rich person decided to close down for a year, let's say they decide to stop working because they have enough money, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would happen to our economy?
Tank.
But yet everybody's pissed at the people making money. But some of those people started with humble beginnings.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they create jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they make money, but they also give money away. It's not the person bitching about the person who's making money giving the money away. It's the person who's making the money who's giving the money away.
People's always hating on everybody. That's how
What is
it? People are always hating. It's like this guy has something that you want, and you're like, oh no.
And you're 100% right. And I think one of the things, the problem we have, and I'm glad you segued into that with me, is that education. Instead of teaching you all the negatives, teach the positives. Do what the Job Corps did. I'm not going to feed you. I'm going to teach you how to feed yourself.
Exactly.
Why not? And you want to know my philosophy on that? We are a world and a country of sheep, but there are sheep herders. Why? The sheep herders control the sheep. And that's our political system.
Yep.
Because we want to give you something. If I give you food, if I give you food stamps, and I'm not talking about someone who definitely needs it. I'm talking about the people who don't need it, who want it. And I give you that, I make you beholden to me. Therefore, you're going to vote for me. Instead of me making you go out and work and earn it so you can provide for your family, you don't want to. You want it for nothing. You want the rich to give it to you because you deserve it. Why not learn how to uplift yourself so you can be that rich person, so that you can lift your status? I came from humble beginnings. My father was a concentration camp survivor. My mother was an American. And that's all that was. And they didn't have money. We lived in the Bronx in a $72 a month, one-bedroom apartment. Okay, I slept on a couch. To this day, I sleep on a couch. Okay, you can't get me in bed. The problem is, you know what? A bed doesn't seem like my sleeping facility. My couch does. So the bottom line is, why not teach us to be successful? Why not teach, people from all different races what their ancestors did to be successful? Teach the people who created things that came from ethnic backgrounds. Don't tell me how I've been persecuted. Sure, being a Jewish person and having 6 million of my people killed. And again, if you look at life, look at history. History teaches us something. Don't deny history, whether it's bad or good. Learn from it so it doesn't happen again.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Okay? But don't deny it.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Suna, we have a lot of independent artists that watch our show, that are fans of the show, both podcasts, musicians, etc. One thing we wanted to ask you about is a growing problem when it comes to the entertainment industry is, speaking of of trying to find that way to find wealth, is as soon as an artist comes in touch with a little bit of money, the first thing they do is sign a manager to their team and sign away 15, 20, sometimes more percentage of their income. What would be your advice to somebody who's trying to build their wealth?
Well, first of all, musicians have a part of their brain that is artistic. So they really don't know wealth, and they've been told that someone else can do it better for them. Okay? What musicians should do is, like anyone else, find someone that they trust, not someone that's going to be a vulture. Because when someone has money, people come out of the woodwork like cockroaches. Okay? And people want what you have, like you just said earlier. So what I would recommend is that, and I say this all the time, find yourself someone that is a good reputation, that has a fiduciary responsibility to you, as you understand, to be loyal, to be knowledgeable, and to watch out for your back, basically. Musicians don't tend to find that. They find people that cuddle up to them, tell them what they want to hear, and then they give them money because they want to be stroked. That's the problem. I don't need to be stroked. Just like in the movie, Show Me the Money, okay? Just show me the money. Don't stroke me, okay? Don't tell me what you can do. For example, give you an example about musicians, as you said. How many of you get robocalls about someone wanting to handle your money? Someone to invest in you, okay? Let me tell you what I tell people that call me about handling my money. What'd you do for yourself? You must have not done much because you're on the phone cold calling. Because if you were doing something for yourself, you wouldn't be on the phone, okay? So therefore, we don't need to have this conversation. And that's what happens to musicians. They get so excited by someone feeding them something, that they're like a fish on a hook. Instead of finding the right person, knowing where their goal is, they don't have a roadmap. They have a song. They have a goal. They have a dream. Everybody has a dream. But sometimes dreams can turn out to be nightmares. I just don't want your dream to be my nightmare. Okay? So what you need to do is find somebody that is really in the area, that knows how to look out, that has not only a fiduciary responsibility, but insurance that if there is an omission, that if they take my money and they make a mistake with my money, their insurance is going to cover me.
Absolutely.
So as for artists, I would recommend artists get together, talk to one another, find out who's doing what, instead of being jealous of one another.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Artists have the biggest problem with fear of someone getting over them and being better than them. And their egos every one of them need an ego stroking. So what they should do, instead of having these smash rooms, they should have ego rooms, where an artist can go in a room and get stroked, okay? That's why, if you notice, they have a posse, right?
Yeah.
They need a posse like a hole in the head. What are they, the Texas Rangers? They need a posse, okay? So let me ask you a question. What is the purpose?
Stroke your ego?
Stroke your ego. So you make a good song, enjoy it, make the money, learn how to... You want me to stroke your ego? You become wealthier and wealthier, you don't need your ego stroked. You can just look at your bank account. It'll stroke it every time.
Now, Mr. Suna, you've been in business a long time, right?
Quite a while, since I was a kid.
What was the first business you owned and how?
It was an illegal business in New York, selling fireworks at 13 years old.
Wow.
All right, what was the first legal business you owned?
What was the first business? Actually, my first legal business that I owned was a restaurant. And when I say selling fireworks, I was 13 years old, and then, it's legal here in Kentucky, but in New York it wasn't, okay? and so, but I worked as a caterer, I worked as a cook, I worked in the restaurant business for many, many years. So the first business I really, really opened up was a New York deli here in Kentucky, okay? And it was called Les and Mark's Deli. And Les and I are still friends, and we worked hard, and we started that business, each one of us. We had no money, but we had gumption. And we found somebody that wanted to sell that business because their father had owned it and he passed away. So we were fortunate enough to be able to find that business, and they carried the paper, and all we had to put down was $1,000. So each one of us came up with $500. So that was my first business here in Kentucky.
Wow. And along your line of progression, how long has this been in the process? Like what other businesses have you owned since then?
I've owned nightclubs, restaurants, and I'd buy them and sell them. Wow. And I'd flip them. Because I have ADD and I can't stay, with one business. It just gets boring. So I had nightclubs and restaurants, and I would.
Wow. Is that have you ever had any problems with businesses going under, or has it just been a smooth road for you?
No, you have good times and bad times.
Mm-hmm.
But you never forget your bad times.
Absolutely.
They lead you to your good times, because your failures you never forget. You take your successes for granted, but your failures will stay with you and they haunt you, so that they don't allow you to make that same mistake twice. Sure. If you make that same mistake twice, you see a therapist, because then you really got a problem. Okay, but you learn from your failures. You have to have failure to be successful. Because you know what? If you look at some of the most successful people in this world, and in our country that started, they failed a number of times till they were successful. Absolutely. How many inventors have failed until they created something? It's a funny thing, we talk about it. Viagra was a failure that turned out to be a non-failure. It was actually a drug designed for your cardiovascular system. And just think of that blind test that they did at the pharmaceutical house, where they put all these men in there taking this drug for their heart, and all of a sudden a nurse walks in. Guess what? Viagra is born. Okay? That's exactly how it happened. Most people don't know that. If you look how Viagra, you can Google it, look how Viagra was invented. It was invented by mistake. It was used for blood pressure, and instead it was supposed to be a blood pressure medicine. And instead, it turned out to be one of the most successful non-blood pressure medicines. Okay?
Must have been a really hard journey.
Well,
come on now.
Let me tell you something. I have to tell you, I like that joke. However, what my visual is, the nurse coming in taking notes with all these men there, and all of a sudden one going, what the hell's happening? What the hell is going on here? So that's how they invented it. I mean, just you have to think about that. So that was a failure that turned out to be what?
A success. Wow.
So that's what I'm getting at. It's not so much, one man's garbage is another man's gold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it's like that with anything.
So it's really like a race against all odds?
It's not about a race against all odds. What you do is you have to look at things from a perspective that if you're going to make a mistake, you can't just say, oh, I failed.
Mm-hmm.
Failure is not an option. What you have to look at is, okay, this didn't work out. How can I turn it around?
Mm.
How can I turn my negative into a positive? That's what believing in yourself is. But throwing your hands up and say, I failed, doesn't work.
So it's more so about finding the light at the end of the tunnel.
I don't know finding the light. I think what it is most of all is looking at yourself and having that. Remember I said life is like a football game?
Mm-hmm.
Don't coaches have an offense and a defense, but don't they have more than one plan?
Absolutely.
Do they have more than one play?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when they have more than one play, okay, you think about that. They have a plan A, plan B, and a plan C. That's what business is all about.
Absolutely. Wow.
I mean, okay, so I mean, I've heard a couple of things about like the plan A and then plan B.
Let me ask you a question. We had coffee earlier. All of a sudden you have an accent. In the kitchen you didn't have an accent. What happened? You get on the radio, you have an accent.
Yeah.
I like that. You bring a little international flair to the show. That's what you're doing. In there, you spoke like you came from the Bronx with me. In here, you sound like you came from Guatemala, where you came from. What is going on? Okay.
Oh man, no, I guess it just that's a little like sprinkles. I guess.
Okay. Well, he asked for sugar. He was speaking like some guy from, Wall Street, and all of a sudden he's a rapper in here. Okay? What goes on with you guys? Go ahead.
It's all about the record sales, baby.
No, but I was asking, it's like because I've heard that if you have I've heard some people say like you don't need a plan B. But
remember what I said about football? There are people in the stands telling you what you need and what you don't need.
You're right.
Okay, you're listening to the audience in the stands, aren't you?
I mean, I take it into consideration and take the good from it.
Take this. You believe in you?
Of course.
Okay. You know your parents, how hard they work, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see what they have accomplished. You came to this country. You see what you've accomplished. So there's nothing you can't accomplish if you put your mind to it. But when you put your mind to it, also have a plan for what about this? What about that? And what about that? If I make a mistake, how can I turn that mistake into a positive? Okay? How can I turn a negative into a positive? Because there are going to be negatives. Life is just that way. Some days it's sunny, some days it's rainy, and some days it's cloudy. It's never sunny 365 days a year. So you have to understand that's life.
That's true.
So you have to have that plan. So don't you plan for bad days when you walk out? Don't you take an umbrella when it's raining?
Yeah.
Okay, you have to plan. Okay, you have these plans there in place just in case. Listen to that. Plan in place just in case. Poetry on your show.
There we go.
There's my first rap song for you.
We didn't want to release it until now, but Mark Suna is going to be coming out with his own album pretty soon.
You got
Not
it.
only businessman, but also upcoming rapper.
Now, gentlemen, I'm sitting here with the sons of immigrants. Mr. Suna, along with betting on yourself, immigration, is it a good bet? Is it a good investment?
I have this thing about immigration. Immigration, I hear so much about immigrants coming to this country and how we got to do this, we got to do this. But what I don't hear is that this country was founded by immigrants.
Absolutely.
Okay? This country was founded by immigrants. Okay? So how can it was founded by immigrants, and then it was founded not just by immigrants, it was founded by slaves. Okay? People who came to this country not of their own free will, that were sold into slavery by people in their country, tribes taking prisoners. Okay? And, immigrants made this country as great as it is. So when I hear about we have an immigration problem, we have a drug problem. We have a barbiturate problem and opioids. Why are we not going after the companies that create the problem instead of the people that want to bring a new way of living here that is more positive, that is wonderful. They want to uplift their status. If you look at what happened after Vietnam and Vietnamese people came to this country. Ask any American woman where she gets her nails done.
The Vietnamese,
Okay?
the Vietnamese girls.
Okay,
Yes.
the Vietnamese girls. They work hard. They don't know from not working. Okay, Seattle has one of the largest populations of successful, wealthy Vietnamese. Okay? Teach who made this country great. A woman who was a slave was a black woman who was the first millionaire. Indianapolis, women's hair care, Mrs. Johnson, hair care products. In 1898, it wasn't Oprah, okay? So you have to, but you're not taught these things to make yourself better, to learn how to be better. Immigration is what made this country.
Absolutely.
Now, are there drug people coming across the border? Yeah, but if we have drones and satellites that can look in mines and underground, how come we can't stop the drug problem? How come we can't stop what we can see? We know when someone's going to do something wrong, but we can't see when. We have heat-seeking satellites that can see your warmth of your body in a cave. So if someone's building a tunnel, you can't tell me they can't see that? All I hear is a problem out of immigration, but I haven't heard a politician say we need to balance the budget.
Wow.
Tell me, you know what, and what happens is the sheep tie into the nonsense because they don't have the intelligence to understand what really is going on. You know, politics today, and you talk about immigration, is a magic trick. Look here while I do something here. Okay? Instead of telling the facts and being smart enough to look at the facts and understand the facts. So when you talk about immigration, I'm a son of an immigrant, okay? And my father came here to escape prejudice and persecution. And he worked hard to where I am today, where I have indoctrinated that. Now, you know what happens to immigrants, truthfully? First-generation immigrants work hard. Second-generation immigrants, sons of the immigrants, or daughters, work hard. Then they have kids. And you know what they say to their kids? I don't want you to work as hard as I did.
I want you to have.
I want you to have what I didn't have. Then the next generation says, I want you to have what I didn't have and what grandpa didn't have, okay? And what happens to the fourth generation? They're lazy Americans.
Back at it again.
So that's why we need immigrants. If it was up to me, I would ship the lazy Americans across the border. I'd have a door going that way and take the ones that want to work. I got 1 for 1. Who's coming over? Okay? That's what I would do.
Oh, wow.
All right, Mr. Suna. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today, but I do have one more question before we go. Cryptocurrency. It's the most rising thing in America right now with Bitcoin. Facebook just announced they're going to be creating their own form of cryptocurrency.
Do you know why they're doing that?
What's that?
Come on. Cryptocurrency, it may be around when the Jetsons come back. But right now, the reason Facebook did that, because the two guys that sued Facebook because they said Zuckerberg stole it, are leading the Bitcoin thing. So what is Zuckerberg doing now? He's going after them with the Bitcoin and starting his own. The two twins that went to Harvard that said he stole, and they sued him and they won money, they got a settlement, they got involved in Bitcoin. So they were the big players in Bitcoin. So now what is Zuckerberg doing?
Doing the
Same thing, over again.
So do you think it's is it a smart investment or is it too?
Absolutely not. Let me ask you a question. If I gave you Monopoly money and said, you know what, you don't have to have this money, but I got this money here, but how much you want to buy of it? I want something. You asked me, and it goes back to seeing, touching, feeling, and seeing it. Okay? The reason Bitcoin, okay, cryptocurrency, will not really be good, because cryptocurrency is how the drug people and the terrorists will be spending money. Because it's digital.
Yeah, it's untraceable.
It's untraceable. So think about it from that standpoint. If you don't know where the money's coming from and you're buying weapons and guns with cryptocurrency, think about it. You really think someone's gonna let that happen?
Yeah.
So if you want to buy cryptocurrency, knock yourself out. I don't own any of it, won't own any of it, don't want it. I don't care if everybody gets rich on it. I don't see it because I think it's going to be something that can and demean our society because it's not backed by anything.
So the other side of the coin, basically. Huh.
Yeah. What government backs cryptocurrency? What country backs? It's two guys who are wealthy, making money off of people buying cryptocurrency.
So if you can't see it, don't buy it.
Well, I'm a firm believer of, you know what, some things you can't see that you do pay for, and that's air. Okay? You pay for air. Okay, get sick, go to the hospital. They charge you for oxygen. Okay, trust me. So there are some things, as far as money goes, I want to be able to touch it.
Absolutely.
And my credit card's fine because I know it's backed by money. I got to send them a check. The check is backed by money that I have. Okay. So that's the way I look at cryptocurrency.
Absolutely. Well, before we go, I want to give one more shout out to Breland over here with the Sphere Network, the greatest engineer, production, all the podcasts that watch us, man.
But more than that, he's got a smile on his face the whole time.
He got a smile on his face the whole time.
You know what? I mean, when you got a guy behind the scenes smiling, that's all that matters. Okay. Who wants to look at someone with their face turned upside down? Okay, he's got a smile. He should be on the air. He should have his own TV show. That smile's worth money. What are you talking about? You guys get behind the scene. Bring Breland out here.
Wow. Do it all over again. Put Breland here and just have him do the interview. But yeah, Breland, let them know where they can find you, man. Where can they find you on social media again?
The Sphere Network on Facebook and Instagram. Just type it in and you'll find us.
Absolutely. Look, there's no better person for your podcasting needs, or if you need an advertisement, anything like that, Breland does the best work. That's why we go to him. All right. This has been Betting on You with Mark Suna, the genius in the industry.
And I have to say, I'm laughing because here came the rapper again. Betting on you, the genius on the internet. Can we put some music to that?
We'll see y'all next time.